to the cloud. All right. Good evening. How are you?
Good evening. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing wonderful. Doing wonderful.
That is awesome. So we're back at it again. It's Tuesday evening after 6 right now. And we're going to bust out and continue our webinar series of the 7 traps. And so tonight, the topic is trap 6, which is so crazy because we're almost done. Like, the time has been going by really fast.
Yeah, and good and bad. That's good and bad.
Yeah, good and bad. For real, good and bad.
Yeah.
And the trap is inadequate drug coverage. Now, I apologize in advance if I don't say things quite the right way. I had some dental work done and my mouth still feel a little weird. But so y'all just bear with me with that.
We forgive you. We forgive you.
But I was thinking about this topic before we got started. Just in our country today, like it's interesting how Medicare separates the drug plans from what they cover of the Part A and the Part B, and I'm sure you're going to go over that.
Yes.
But I just thought that was because the prescription drugs can be so expensive. Mm-hmm. And I know that is a big what's the word? Like hardship is for not even just people who are on Medicare, just people in general yep. who may or may not have health coverage in our country. And so I know this is a big pain point, and I know you're going to drop some great knowledge on us tonight. So go ahead and get into it. Trap 6, inadequate drug coverage.
All right, thank you so much, Brett. Again, my name is Kia Johnson. I am the Chief Operating Officer for Leave a Legacy Financial. We operate our offices in Tampa, Florida. We are an agency that offers Medicare Advantage, Medicare Supplement, Part D standalone drug plans, Medicare Advantage plans that have the drug plans incorporated in them, life insurance, youth sports insurance, and some other adventurous things that we've done in the liability space. One of the things that I did want to cover with everyone is that this is, again, a continuation of a series. So the series is the 7 traps to avoid in Medicare. And some of the topics, when you review the YouTube videos or review the webinar over again, you'll see that the topics, they flow together. We could have done one big Zoom call for about 3 hours and just talked about this, but sometimes Medicare can be overwhelming, so we release them in chunks. And I think after we finish these traps, we'll probably go back and do, maybe make it a webinar weekly, kind of to discuss some of the things that we're seeing that could help people. So with that being said, I want to give you guys an example of why we think this topic is standalone by itself. So we, again, we help people. We have a call center, but we also can meet with people face to face. And we took a call, one of our agents took a call yesterday. And we found a great plan for her, great plan, all the benefits she wanted, covered her prescriptions. Her original reason she called, she said she went to the pharmacy and had to pay $300. They were trying to charge her $300. She didn't have the $300, so she left her medication. Her primary care doctor, again, no offense to primary care doctors, but her primary care doctor prescribed this medication to her, but the medication is not on her formulary. So a formulary is a list of drugs that are covered by a plan. And they could fall in different tiers. They could be a specialty, they could be a brand, they could be preferred, generic, all different kinds of definitions. But at the end of the day, the doctor prescribed her something that wasn't on her formulary, so she was going to have to pay full retail price. So she thought it's the plan, which technically it is, because the plan she has doesn't cover that drug. So we
Right.
go through, agent goes through everything with her. And lo and behold, the prescriptions would have only cost her about $40 for all of her prescriptions she had. But her primary care doctor was not in network. And she said, I don't want to change my doctor. I'd rather forego the medication and I'll stay with my doctor.
Oh
I'm just
my
gonna
goodness.
pause there for a minute.
Wow, are you kidding me?
No. And so I said to the agent, I said, she said, what? And he's because it's a fine line with Medicare and enrolling people and helping people. There's a fine line. Like somebody else could have been really aggressive with her and been like, yeah, are you crazy? Blah, blah, blah. And he just said, I understand. But do you realize the doctor is who prescribed this medication to you that you can't afford? That they have some type of responsibility to make sure that they're looking at your plan and making sure that your plan will cover this medication. And she said, I know, but I don't want to change the doctor. I'm just not going to take it. So while we were like going, we chat or we type the questions to each other. So I'm saying it like I was talking, but we were actually typing. And I said, you know what? I said, tell her we will follow up with her in about 2 weeks. Ask her, is it okay if we follow up with her in about 2 weeks so she can think about it because it's fresh in her mind. She literally had just left the pharmacy, according to her, and according to the agent. And I said, tell her to call her doctor back. Tell her to call the doctor's office back and let them know that that drug they prescribed her is not covered on the plan she's on. So she doesn't have to make this choice. She doesn't have to go without a prescription that he wrote for her. And it is a guy, so I'm saying he. And nobody double checked it. So my point of this example, I actually had a totally different example that I was going to use. And then I saw, that happened yesterday. And I was like, look, this happens every day. Like people are making choices between taking a medication or dying. Taking a medication that is for their health or foregoing taking it, and they don't say a word. She was just going to leave it like that. Well, I just won't take it. Tell her, call her doctor. The doctor has a responsibility. If you're going to be married to this doctor, the doctor got to be married to you. Period. If the doctor's not married to me and holding up their end of the bargain, I got to find somebody else who will. Now, to that doctor's defense, she hadn't called him, hadn't told him. She just literally thought it was the plan. So my instructions to the agent, ask her if we can call her back, follow up with her in a couple of weeks. I can't because PHI, I'm not going to say what kind of medication it was, but it literally is like life or death medication. Like if you don't take this, something could happen to your heart and your heart could stop. So for her to say, oh, I just won't take it. No, ma'am, you're not going to leave that on our watch. Like you're not going to leave it without us telling you something else. So when we talk about inadequate drug coverage, we kind of talked about in a previous episode of the late enrollment penalty and not having the creditable drug coverage. So that means like you have something, but it may not be as good as what Medicare covers. It has to be as good or better. Some people call it credible, like it's incredible. It's creditable, creditable, meaning that you get credit for it being just as good as Medicare or better. So veterans, TRICARE, employer group coverage, those are things I can think of right off the top of my head, but those are considered creditable drug coverage. There's also state pharmaceutical programs. There's county pharmaceutical programs. There are nonprofit programs that are just as good as Medicare because they cover all of your drugs. So you don't have to get a standalone drug. So I'm going to answer, Brett, what you mentioned earlier, where you said you find it kind of, odd. I'm paraphrasing that Medicare has the drugs separate. Well, at one point, Medicare didn't cover any drugs except for Part B, B meaning boy. So drugs that were, or in the hospital. So drugs that were done in the doctor's office or whatever. But once you went to that pharmacy, you were totally on your own. they had the discount drug plans. They had a lot of different programs to help you if you had extra help. But for someone who had pretty decent income, no employer plan, nothing else, they were paying out of pocket.
Right.
If they didn't know any better, they were paying out of pocket. So, and I don't know when the law passed. So I'm not a follower of the laws. I just remember when things changed. So in 2006 was when Congress went, well, the ruling went to effect for Part D like David for drugs, went into effect, and you could either get it as a standalone on your Medicare, and under your Medicare, or you could get it as part of your Medicare MAPD. So in Medicare Advantage, that's all it was before. It didn't have drugs. Some of them did, but they weren't like how under Part D. They fell under like kind of like the medical. They did have the formularies, but it wasn't the same. So once the rules passed, a lot of people lost their Medicare Advantage plans because they thought they could have a Medicare Advantage plan and a standalone Part D plan. So in 2006, 2007, it got really crazy because people were like moving back and forth, not realizing what they were doing. The other thing that happened back then was they passed like the law, but it turned into where you had the donut hole. Like everybody kind of is familiar with that term now, but at the time it was new. So it's a gap, and it's easily explainable. And I'm not going to go into gory details about how the Part D coverage works with the gap. But long and short of it is you have an initial coverage level. So you reach a certain dollar amount. And then once you reach that dollar amount is calculated separate from your medical, and is calculated based on what the plan pays, based on the total retail price of what the plan paid versus what you paid. Then you enter what's called the coverage, the coverage phase. So you could get into a gap really easily. And you enter the gap phase, there's a certain amount that is credited, and it's credited based on what the manufacturer covers versus what you have to pay versus all that fun stuff. And then that's the gap is called the donut hole. A lot of people that's in the business don't want to call it the donut hole anymore, because technically it's not, because it depends on the type of medications you take. Before it was just like all or nothing. And within the last, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, it changed. So it's not really a hole. It's dependent on the medications you take. Most of the times generics are covered all the way through the year. You don't meet a gap. Originally you met a gap regardless. So there's been a lot of changes. The problem is you still have people who didn't need drug coverage because they weren't sick and they didn't need to cover themselves. So they have no Part D plan since Part D was available to them. You still see them today. They don't have an adequate drug plan. So when they go to get one, they're being uncovered for, they call it uncovered months, meaning you didn't have a creditable drug coverage for all these months. And it's hitting them now for some people, because now they're at the age where they need the medication. Sometimes it is actually less expensive for them to just go to the pharmacy, use something like GoodRx or some other type of discount plan. And if that's working for them, then let it work for them. Don't force them into something that's going to cost them more money. But this topic is really about when you are on a plan. What I tell my clients is, when you get all your paperwork in the mail, it's going to give you, a list of doctors, like small list based on your zip code. It's not going to give you a whole lot of them, maybe 10, it'll give you some specialists, whatever. But one of the most important things that you get is called a formulary. So that list of drugs that's covered on the plan you're currently on, keep that. Give that to your doctor, and it can change. So every couple of months, you might want to go back, and call the company, call your agent. If you call us, we'll tell you who to contact to get another copy, or we can ask for a copy for you, or we can order one and have it mailed to you on your behalf. Get a copy of the updated formulary, provide that to your doctor. They can put it in your file. That way, whenever they're prescribing something to you, it won't it won't embarrass you. Like, I'm one of those people,
Yeah.
I remember being a kid and like having anxiety going to a store, like, I hope I have enough, I hope I have enough. Because at the time, we, it wasn't calculators. You just had a certain amount of money. You knew you needed to get a certain type of food your mama told you get from the store. So I would just be like, because it's embarrassing when you get to the counter, they rate, ring everything up and it's like, oh, it's such and such and such dollars. And you're sitting there with a 20 and you needed $10 and some more change. So for me, that anxiety that I would feel if I go up to a pharmacy. Now I've gone out of my way, got out of my bed or wherever I was to go to the pharmacy to get my medication, and I get there and they say, oh, Miss Johnson, is $300. $300, and imagine being in Walmart and people are behind you, or being in CVS. They think you can't hear, but we can hear you. We can hear.
We can hear.
And it's almost like it's embarrassing, but it really starts in the doctor's office. At this point, it's starting in the doctor's office, because they're not prescribing something by checking to make sure that it's covered by your plan. There's some type of authorization. Sometimes you have to get, they call it prior authorizations. I try not to use a lot of the internal jargon for Medicare or Medicare Advantage plans, but there are sometimes things where you have to have tried a different drug before, and they call it step therapy. So you can get it prescribed, but the pharmacy is not going to fill it because their company denied it, the plan denied it. At that point, that is the plan, because it's still on the list, but there are some things you would have had to do, but it's in tandem with your doctor. So one of the main things to know is, do I need to know every drug my plan covers? No, I just need to know if it covers the stuff I need at the time I enroll. But in a 12-month period, because we know that Part D, standalone drug plans and Medicare Advantage plans with drug coverage, the formularies are like, you're on the plan usually for a whole year, unless you have some special reasons you can make a change. The formulary can change throughout the year. It can change throughout the year. So the important thing is knowing, like, okay, let me go double check to make sure that anything changed. Send me a new one. Give that new one to your doctor, or keep it. And then when you go to the doctor, take it with you, so that you won't have those embarrassing moments, or potentially you get to the pharmacy and, oh my gosh, or you call, because guess what? You feel that you start to feel emotions, because you feel inadequate. Like, I don't have this. I know that lady on that call probably felt really bad. I don't have $300. Let me find a new plan. Not realizing that it wasn't, I mean, it was the plan too.
Because it wasn't just the plan, that she could go back to her doctor and possibly either change the medication or get prescribed something else, or
I mean, and if it's not anything else, then do what you need to do to contact the insurance company on her behalf and let them know she needs this medication, is medically necessary, and send the paperwork that needs to be sent so the plan can make an informed decision. But she didn't realize that she was paying the retail cost. But we found out, like I told the agent, hey, find out what pharmacy she goes to. You can look up the drugs right now. You can look up any drug and see what the pharmacy is charging. And he did, and he was like, oh, that's the full price. And I said, tell her that, so that she knows. And now she's armed with that information, and she can go back to her doctor. So when we talk about, like, we can help you, when you call us, yes, if we have a plan for you, we're going to ask you, do you want to enroll in that plan? And we're going to enroll you in the plan. But if you don't want to enroll in that plan, but you needed help, we want to, at the end of that call, feel like we helped you. We helped you understand that there are options for you. You can use GoodRx. Like, that was one of the things. If your doctor tells you that that's all he can prescribe for this particular condition, there's some things that he can do to help, but there's also some things you can do to get it while you're waiting for all of that. Maybe he can give you a 10-day prescription or something like that to get you through while they're working through all the back end paperwork that we don't get to see, and nor do I want to see.
Right.
Quite frankly, I don't want to know all that stuff, but we know enough to help our clients, because that's an important part of our roles, is kind of knowing the traps or the pitfalls that you can fall under when you don't have the adequate amount of drug coverage, or you have the drug coverage, but a particular drug is not covered under the plan that you have. So we want to
Right.
make sure that you make informed decisions, that you're able to speak with your doctors, and are able to call your plan or go online. Like most plans, you can go online, set up an account,
Right.
and you can see your plan documents, including your evidence of coverage, your formularies, and all of that. If it updates through the year, they'll update that document through the year online fast. So you can
Right.
get that faster than calling and asking them to mail it, or email it or whatever. You can go right online. If you're not computer savvy, you can do it on your phone. Everybody's using their phones for everything.
Right.
Or get somebody in your family that's really good, or give us a call, and we'll be happy to help you. So with that being said, again, I hope I'm passing on some valuable information. Some of these topics are super boring. I get it. But the other part of it is just helping people avoid going into a store, or going, calling a company and they give you a bill that you just kind of like, wow, taken aback, because you can't afford it. We don't want people to forego taking a medication that's something for their health,
Right.
than choosing just to leave it alone and leave it at the pharmacy because you can't afford it. So there are alternatives and there are options, one of which you could choose change your plan that does cover it, go back to your doctor's office, or find a good discount plan that covers it at a significant discount for you. So with that being said, Brett, I'm going to turn it back over to you. If we have any questions, we will take questions.
First, I want to say that, yeah, it may seem boring and or whatever, but these are real life issues that our families, our community, people that we know are going through,
Yes.
people that we don't even know. So one thing that is great about Leave a Legacy Financial is that we're ethical. We're here to help our clients, steer them in the right direction to make an informed decision about their plan, about their health. Because that is very concerning to me, and it should be to anyone out there, where you have to decide whether to forego a medicine that will help the quality of your life, to basically sustain your life, or not. That is serious, So I understand that, it may not be the most what they call a sexy or romantic topic
It's
in the
not
world.
spicy.
It ain't that spicy, but maybe you need it just like you need that water every day.
Yes. It's very important to also remember that even if the topic is not widely talked about, it's affecting our community in a significant way. I know we have an aunt, and I won't say her name, but it's not any of the other aunts I talked about. We have a big family, let's just say that. But she passed on, but she was diabetic, and we didn't know for years that she was cutting back her insulin because she couldn't afford it. And she was too proud to tell us or anybody to ask for help. And she slowly was like losing her eyesight because she didn't have the stuff. So people would say, well, diabetes will kill you, or diabetes makes you go blind. Sometimes it's not the diabetes. Sometimes it's the aftermath of having the diabetes and not being able to take care of yourself properly, including taking the type of insulin that you need to take in the dosage and frequency they told you to do. So these are things that I get fired up about, because for me, it's like there's easier ways to do it. There's easier ways, and call a stranger. If you're not comfortable talking to your family, call a stranger, call somebody and just say, I need help. Can you help me? And we're gonna follow up with the young ladies, that we spoke to, even if I have to call her. and just try to not convince her to make a change, but I am literally worrying, like, did she bother to call her doctor back? Because
Right. You
that's
want to follow just
something
to make
that,
sure she, that she
yeah,
did
like
the-
that's something to me. And we talk to a lot of people, so it's just certain things just stand out, like,
Right.
oh, I hope she really called and I hope that she got it. So we're gonna follow up. But at the same time, like we said, it's not spicy, it's not sexy, it's not glamorous, it's not pretty. But I'd rather talk about something like this that's not pretty and glamorous than gloss over it and just be like, oh, you can get groceries, you can get transportation, you can get dental, vision, hey.
Right.
And then,
Exactly.
you know, when
Yeah.
when it's time to really use the benefits that you needed, you don't have it. So that is the whole point of the series, is also
Yeah.
the whole point of why we're here, because we
Yeah.
help our own family members, and it got to a point where we saw that they were, possibly being harmed, not maybe on purpose, but harmed just the same. So our job is to make sure that we're helping as many people as we possibly can make more informed decisions and use the benefits the way that they're supposed to, because that's what they're for.
All right. And with that said, we don't have any questions, but if
Okay.
you would like some assistance, if you have any questions later on after this webinar, you can give us a call at 1-888-682-1325. You can also visit our website.
Yep.
We have a contact us feature on the website as well. Our website is www.lalfinancial.com. We're here for you, and we can't wait to hear from you.
Awesome. So with that being said, you all have a blessed rest of your night, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.